Hello everyone. So today we will look at the irregular verbs in German, which is also called Unregelmäßige Verben, which is irregular verbs. So we also most of the verbs in German are regular verbs, and these regular verbs have the rules of conjugation. For example, suppose we have a verb common. Yeah. So let's look at the example of this verb common. So the common is in the infinitive form and the stem form is com, and then we can conjugate this verb according to different personal pronoun. And for example, it will be ish, comma, du kommst, sie, es kommt, wir kommen, ihr kommt, and sie kommen. So if you remember, the conjugation rules are: for ish we add an e, ish comma; for do we have coms, we add an st, az is commed, another t, we have common, en, ear commed, and zz common. So these are the endings we do depending on different pronoun and to the stem form. These are regular verbs, and most of the regular verbs follow this conjugation. But there are some irregular verbs also, where the conjugation rules are a bit different for different cases, for the different personal pronoun, right? And we will look at those conjugation for irregular verbs. So, for example, we have one verb called essen. So, essen, which means to eat, right? And then the stem form of this is ish, essa. So for ish it will be essa, and the stem form would be s. mm, Sn, and then the stem form will be s. And now we will conjugate this one. So if we follow the normal regular verb conjugation, so it will be like ish, esse, du est, sie es est, wir essen, ihr esst, and sie essen. But for the irregular verbs, we have changes for the do case and the er, sie, s case. And what are the changes? Instead of having est, est, we replace e with an I. So e replace with I. In the same way, for er, sie, s, e will be replaced with I. So how the conjugation would look like for this case is in the table shown above. So we will have ish, esse, du, ist. So we replace the e with I, but we keep the conjugation of the st in the do. Then er, sie, es also ist, wir essen, ihr esst, and sie essen. So only the case of the do and er, sie, es we have the changes made. So on the right side, the conjugations remains the same. For example, E S S T S, then T for A Z S, where SN, ear S, and ZZ SN. But for the case of do and air Z S, we will have E changing to I. So we will have ish S do ist, air Z S ist, where SN, ear S, ZZ SN. So this will be for the case where the verbs have I changed from the e, and there will be many verbs which have e in them, and for there we have to follow this rule. And this is for the irregular verbs where e goes to I, right? So in German, you say like E is pronounced as E and I is pronounced as E. So that's why it is Essen, and then Essen goes to ist, right? For the do and ASD case. Now we also have irregular verbs where the words having A in them goes to A umlaut, right? So for example, here we have the verb schlafen, right? So we will look at it, schlafen, and schlafen means to sleep. So now we can break this word. So the stem form is schlaf, and then en makes it infinitive, right? So we have schlafen, and then we do the conjugation to the schlafen verb. But for the do and s case, where a will go to umlaut a. So ich schlafe, du schläfst. So a went to a umlaut, es schläft, wir schlafen, ihr schlaft und sie schlafen. So if you look at it, the ending conjugation remains the same. Ich schlafe, du schläfst, es schläft, wir schlafen, ihr schlaft und sie schlafen. However, for irregular verbs, in this case, a was changed to a umlaut, right? And for the case of do conjugation and er z s conjugation, and this is also shown in the table. Ich schlafe, du schläfst, er sie es schläft, wir schlafen, and er schlaft, sie schlafen. So we have irregular verbs in the case where e will goes to I, and then a will goes to a umlaut with the two double dots on it, right? So these are irregular verbs where the ending conjugation remains the same, but we have additional conjugation in the case of do and er sie as personal pronoun of the verb, and then for that we have e going to I in the verb and a go to a umlaut in the verb, right? So let's look at some example of such verbs. So we have here some verbs where e will go to I while doing the conjugation. For example, empfehlen, so er empfiehlt, right? So e went to I, e was changed to I. Essen ist, we did the example above. Geben, gibt, so it will be ich gebe, du gibst, er gibt. And Fernsehen, er sieht fern, and this is kind of a trennbare verb, trennbare verb, which we will see late in some another video. But essentially the word is split here, and this fern gives to at the end, and then you conjugate the sehen, and for sehen, er sieht, so e went to I. Then same way helfen, vergessen, mitnehmen, werden. So all these verbs are the case where e will go to I. In the same way, we also have a will go to a umlaut, right? But remember, at the end you will do the similar conjugation, but in between where a is there, a will go to a umlaut and e will go to a umlaut. For example, erfahren, er fährt ab. So this is kind of a trennbare verb, but you conjugate the fahren, and the fahren for er had a umlaut. Anfangen, einladen, einschlafen, and so on. So these are the irregular verbs where we have the situation of a going to a umlaut and e going to I, right? So you can also try the conjugation of these verbs and put it in the comment, and I can check for you that if you understand and can see through the rule what are we are doing in the conjugation. Now let's do some examples for these verbs and how the irregular verbs can be conjugated, and we will do it step by step. So for example, we have Peter nach Jaipur, du auch nach Jaipur, nein, ich nach Jaipur. So we will conjugate the verb fahren. So if you can see, we have a, so a have to go to a umlaut, right? but this will be only true for and do and air z s case, right? For this one we have to do the umlaut. So Peter, so Peter is air, so it will be Peter fared nach Jaipur, then fares du auch nach Jaipur, and nine ish fahre nach Agra, right? So we had, let's look at in detail. So we had the example of fahren, so it will be ish fahre du fährst er sie es fährt, then wir fahren ihr fahrt, and then sie fahren. So from the conjugation rule, we remember we will only conjugate for do and airs. So what it looks like for do and airs here, right? And a will go to a umlaut. So I have to here first and fared, right? And the stem form for from fahren. So this is our fahren, and then far. Then I will start do the conjugation. So fahre, fährst, fahre, fährst, fahrt, fahren, fahrt, fahren, right? So we have only for do and airs yes. So in the similar way, we will keep doing in for the other verbs. So Gita dash langsam dash du auch langsam. Nein, ist dash schnell. So we will do Essen here. So Gita ist, because she has a Z here pronomen. She, sie ist langsam, ist du auch langsam. Nein, ich esse schnell. Right? So we will also conjugate for do and ARZS where E will go to I, and then we have the at the end the similar conjugation for the regular verbs, right? So Robert dash English dash du auch English. Nein, ich dash Deutsch sprechen. So Robert spricht Englisch. Sprichst du auch Englisch? Nein, ich spreche Deutsch. Right? So you understand we are doing the conjugation for as, s, and do, where the e went to I for this case, right? Now you can also pause and do for the other exercises and check your answers, or you can also follow along. So Herr Meyer schläft 8 Stunden pro Tag. So we did the schlafen, and it will we have schläft for ASES. So wie viel Uhr? So according to do, wie viel Uhr dash du Abend essen? So it will be ist. Wann der Bus nach Agra fahren? So der Bus, so this is air. So fährt. Then das du Zeitung. According to do this, we will do the das du Zeitung lesen, then liest du Zeitung. So lesen, this is E going to I, right? Ihr um 1 Uhr so Mittag, so essen, it will be est, right? Because we don't need to do the conjugation for ear as I will prefer, only do er sie es. And English schnell sprechen. So spricht English schnell. So English maybe she. So according to Z, we have to do this, right? Du gern lange. Then it will be schläfst du gern lange. And then one year nach Bombay. Then we do this. One fahrt, right? We want to do for RZS. One fahrt year nach Bombay. Wie lange ihr Zeitung? So we will do it for ear and the lesen. So it will be laced. So no conjugation for this, only the normal one, but not the irregular verb conjugation, changing the E to I or A to a umlaut. So you have to just keep in mind that what kind of personal pronoun is there. So if it is do or the azs, then you have to do this special conjugation in between where a will be becoming a umlaut and then e will go to I. So if you notice in lazen what is happening also, let's look at the lazen example. It will be more clear, then it will also show you a unique case, but it's similar to e going to ie, right? So let's look at lazen for a moment. So we have lazen, so stem form is lays, and we will conjugate this, right? So ish, laser, do, least, it's a irregular verb, and then air, z, s, least, le, least, and then wir, lesen, and after that we have ear, lest, and at the end z, lesen, right? So the end conjugation are the same in the normal one, e, st, t, lesen, t, and lesen. And for ear, for where, ear, z, ish, we did not, we just followed the rule, we did not change. And then for e, we have to change to I, right? That's what happens. So here I and I. So but you see there's an extra e also, x also. So this also change happens that e goes to I or e goes to ie, right? So this is almost similar changes depending on the verb. You can see where it is happening, right? For the example, for ist case, SN case, we had ist, which was not changing with IE, just the E, right? So if you look at above, we had I, just the change of I. But in the lazen, we have IE going on. So this also you see sometimes in the verbs where not just E, IE also happens. So this was the irregular verbs in German where you can not only follow the regular verb conjugation at the end, for example e, s, t, t, and so on, but also in between you have to change from a to a umlaut or e to e umlaut. So if you have any question, you can write in the comment section, and you can also try these exercises also. uh, Try to conjugate some of the verbs and I can look at them, and then we will meet in the next video.